We're back with another episode of Mac Stories Unwind, this week brought to you by Collide. I'm John Voorhees, and with me is Federico Vitici. Hey, Federico.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm doing really well. It's, it's practically the eve of my Mac OS review, and I honestly don't have much on my mind other than that right now because it's been a bit of a fixation. I think you could probably relate, having been through this yourself very recently.
I have been in that mind space for several weeks. I know what you mean. I know how you feel. You will be done soon, and
yes,
then
very soon.
you will relax, and it's gonna feel nice because it's gonna feel like we're gonna have an extra month this year. Given that typically you're done with macOS in mid-October, and then suddenly it's November. Now it's gonna feel like you have a 13-month year instead of 12 months, which is gonna be nice.
It really will, and I actually look forward to that. I mean, it is hard being a little more compressed with your iOS review for a variety of reasons, given what we've done in the past several years. But it's still workable, and I'm getting there. And I kind of had a feeling it might be this way this year, since macOS is a smaller update, just like iOS was in a lot of ways. So, yeah, I'm not too surprised, and I'm ready for it. But
before we talk about your pick, I wanted to talk to you about things that I have. This is kind of a weird topic. I have prepared for relaxation. I have set the stage for how I'm going to chill, but I haven't chilled yet.
Right. Things you've been saving for when you can relax. I actually have something in this category too.
Okay. So I've been, as it was revealed to you while proofreading my review, I recently secretly got myself an Asus ROG Ally. That is the PC handheld by Asus. And not just that, but through, by way of selling some old hardware and treating myself a little bit, I also got the XG Mobile external GPU for the ROG Ally. This is a mobile GPU that inside has a laptop version of the NVIDIA RTX 4090. So this is the high-end, top-of-the-line GPU in the laptop configuration in a pretty small enclosure that has a built-in kickstand and a custom cable. Of course, I mean, it's for the airflow, right? It's for the airflow.
That sold the deal, though, didn't it? That it has a kickstand?
I mean, it's got a kickstand. You can take it around with you, prop it up on a desk. I mean, that's the dream.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about this thing is, just so people understand what this mobile eGPU is, it's not just for the Rogue Ally, right? It's
no.
It can be used with Asus laptops as well, and it's significantly more expensive than the ROG. Is it Rogue or ROG or what? I mean,
Rogue, I think it's either ROG or ROG.
Okay,
whatever you want to go with.
I'll go with ROG. It's significantly more expensive than a ROG Ally, I know.
Yes.
When I read your review, I looked at it and I was like, oh my goodness, because I knew about the ROG Ally. I knew what it was. When it came out, I wasn't particularly interested in it, but I didn't know about this eGPU, and that adds a whole new dimension to it, and that piqued my interest. So I went looking and reading about it a little bit.
Yeah, so I prepared for this thing for a couple of reasons. First of all, now that I'm done with the iOS review, I think it's time for me to finally breathe a little and start playing Starfield. I really want to try Starfield. I have a bunch of games that I need to catch up on. Like I want to play more Zelda. There's the Pokemon DLC, but I also really want to try Starfield. I actually want to have a bit of a sci-fi period myself.
Interesting.
It's not just Starfield. I think I'm gonna go for a few weeks, and maybe this will be picks on Unwind. I think I will enter my space era. And all at once, do Starfield, Season 2 of Foundation.
I knew that's where you were going.
Season 4 of For All Mankind, and the new book in the Red Rising series, Lightbringer, which came out a month ago, and I can't believe I still haven't started reading. It's been killing me. So I think I will go all space themed for a while, because I just, I've been here on Earth just thinking about the review and writing. It's time to look up at the stars. John.
All right, we're going to call this Teachy in Space or something like that. I don't know what it is. We'll come up with something more clever than that. But I like that. I like the theme. I think that's a great theme. I will ask you one question about Starfield though. Have you listened to what Triple Click had to say about it?
Not yet.
It's not good.
I know, but I gotta try it for myself.
I know you do. I'm not a huge RPG fan myself, and as a result,
I don't think this is the game for you. Honestly.
I really don't. And the more I've heard about it, the less I've thought I want to play it. But
speaking of stars, what I will recommend to you is also an indie game. This was not meant to be a pick, but there's this indie game that I've been reading about and watching some videos that I think I'm gonna check out at some point. So it's very self-contained, very retro, sort of like SNES inspired. And it's been sort of being talked about a lot on, for example, the Besties and on Polygon. It's called Sea of Stars.
Okay.
Take a look at Sea of Stars. It's, 20-hour story, pretty self-contained game, some really nice RPG mechanics that sort of combine Chrono Trigger with the Super Mario RPG combat system, and it looks lovely. Like the graphic art style looks lovely. So maybe that's a game for you, sort of indie game, kind of a throwback to the Super Nintendo. Yeah. But anyway, so what I'm gonna do, as you can guess, this ROG Ally and the 4090 GPU, it means that I'm selling my previous eGPU. I thought about this for a long time.
The big boy.
Yeah, and I have some interested people in the product listing that I put on online. But yeah, so I've been thinking about this a lot. Actually, it wasn't like this sort of a spur of the moment decision. I wanted to find a way to have great performance, better than my previous eGPU, but also save space at the same time. Now that seemed impossible, right? To have modularity and how can you have a portable console with great performance? Right. And honestly, the only answer was an ROG Ally with the XG Mobile 4090, because this means that I can now get a lot of space back from under my desk. Yeah. Because the XG Mobile is very compact, while also being able to play. I ran some tests, and for example, imagine running Cyberpunk 2077 at the ray tracing overdrive setting. So this is the maximum ultra setting that you can get. Right. And because it's a 4090 GPU, you can take advantage of the latest version of NVIDIA's DLSS upscaling technology. It's version 3.5 that just came out. I can run Cyberpunk at ray tracing overdrive at 1440p. I don't need to play in 4K in front of my desk. I have the Apple Studio display 40 centimeters away from me. I don't need 4K. Ray tracing overdrive, 4040p, a locked 60 frames per second. It is incredible how it looks. And, that's a very demanding game. I think I'm going to be fine with Starfield and other games that are not as demanding as Cyberpunk, especially because of that ray tracing option. This thing is wild. And the best part is I can play the same game with really, really good performance when I'm at my desk. I can keep using my Apple Studio display because the XG Mobile has an display port out, and I have the same, the usual display port to USB-C cable. Right. I can just plug that into the Studio display and it works. But when I'm done, I can just pick up the ROG Ally and I can keep playing the game with lower graphical settings, of course. But to me, this is the dream. Like the one console that is both portable and high-end when played in a desktop environment. It's a dream come true. But this is all sort of still theoretical for now, because I know I will relax and I will enjoy this. But the enjoyment hasn't come up yet. So...
All right. Well, no, that's good. I like that. I like that plan. And what I think is interesting about this this eGPU too is it's got a proprietary connector, doesn't it? Like a
Yes.
PCI
So
interface.
good point. Good point. So what sets the XG mobile system apart is it's got a proprietary connector. So it means you are locked into the Asus ecosystem. And now, thankfully, there are plenty of excellent laptops that Asus makes for gaming.
Yeah.
But this is a proprietary connector. It's not bottlenecked by Thunderbolt because it's a PCI Express connection that has a lot more bandwidth than Thunderbolt 4. There are no Thunderbolt 5 controllers around, as we've talked about before, but it's PCI based. And it's actually, it handles power delivery. It's like this integrated system that has both a USB-C cable and a PCI connector in this sort of custom chunky connector. Honestly, the only downside that I will mention for the XG Mobile is that the cable that connects the external unit to the console, the cable is very short and thick, and
I noticed that in the pictures. Yeah,
not easy to bend. That's the one downside. But I guess, if you want to have that PCI connection, the cable cannot be too long. I guess that's the downside of this. But you can take this thing, as I've done, get a cheap tablet carrying case from Amazon, put this thing inside and take it with you.
Nice.
And realistically, you can just pack a small bag with the XG Mobile, an iPad Pro, and a ROG Ally, and take your 4K gaming with you on the go. Use the iPad Pro as a display, and that's a thing you can do now. And to me, and obviously you can always take a proper external display if you want to.
Sure.
Like the C-Force one that we have, it also works. This thing is wild. Like this sort of this renaissance of handheld devices and this newfound category of external GPUs. This is not the only kind. We'll talk about this on Unwind at some point. There's this upcoming standard for eGPUs, which is based on a different technology. It's called Oculink. But this is something that other companies are doing, like the GPD folks that do the portable GPD PC handhelds. They're sort of also doing this Oculink connection, which is sort of similar to the Asus one, but it's a different standard. There's a lot of movement on this front right now. And I mean, you know me, I'm all for it. Portability, modularity, that's my cup of tea, as you would say.
Yeah, definitely. And it's the thing is that this is solving a problem that Apple has not solved yet, which is, they have GPUs that are pretty good for some uses, but they're not great for gaming, and a lot of it has to do with this because of the portable devices. They don't have the thermal headroom essentially for running these dedicated cards in them, and Apple's just doing this all on a system on the chip. Now, what we did see with the latest chips, the A17 Pro in the iPhone, is that it looks like Apple is starting to really concentrate on their GPUs, and it'll be interesting to see how that scales up to the Mac. I think that there's potentially some interesting performance that's going to be coming to the Mac at some point, but I still feel like Apple's story is a very long-term story and not one that is going to really make a huge dent in the video game market just yet. This episode of Mac Stories Unwind is brought to you by Collide. If you work in security or IT and your company uses Okta, then this message is for you. Have you ever noticed that in the past few years, the majority of data breaches and hacks you read about have something in common? It's the employees. Because hackers absolutely love exploiting vulnerable employee devices and credentials. But it doesn't have to be that way. Imagine a world where only secure devices can access your cloud apps. In that world, phished credentials are useless to hackers, and you can manage every OS, even Linux, from a single dashboard. Best of all, you can get your employees to fix their own device security issues without creating more work for IT. The good news is you don't have to imagine this world. You can just start using Collide. Collide is the device trust solution for companies that use Okta, and it ensures that if a device isn't trusted and secure, it can't log into your cloud apps. Visit collide.com/MacStoriesUnwind to watch a demo and see how it works. That's KOLIDE.com/MacStoriesUnwind. Our thanks to Collide for their support of the show. All right. So my deferred gratification, Federico, my
Mhm.
downtime once I get finished with this review is I'm going to set up my home assistant.
Oh,
The
nice.
so I got the Home Assistant Yellow, which is it's a Raspberry Pi basically on a dedicated board that has the software for Home Assistant built into it and some other chips and other things for wireless communication. And I just have to assemble the Raspberry Pi, put it inside this, close up the case, and start setting up the software. It's not really a huge project, but it's not one I've really had time for either. So that's going to be HomeKit stuff is going to be one of the things that I do in October once the dust all settles. So I'm looking forward to that. Plus, I need to get back to games myself. It's probably been 6 weeks since I've played regularly anything. I mean, I have to finish Zelda Tears of the Kingdom still. I want to play Dave the Diver. You just gave me a recommendation that sounds like one I want to check out. And before you know it, we'll have Super Mario Brothers Wonder. And,
Yes.
and I'm really looking forward to that game. So I think I'm going to be on the Switch still for quite a while, actually. Although my Steam Deck, I did kind of like update my Steam Deck a week ago, and I'm getting ready to, get Dave the Diver on there, and maybe I don't know, we'll see. I mean, I think I'm going to kind of switch between the Steam Deck and the Switch in the coming months.
Nice.
All right, should we talk about picks today?
I don't have any because I just came out from a review.
All
Do
right.
you have a pick for me, John?
I do have a pick because one of the difficulties of me getting my review done this year has been that I had to take my son back to college. And I also had guests at my house. And it's a long story that I'm not going to bore people with. But bottom line was I spent like 4 days at my sister in law's house because it was closer to Philadelphia where my son goes to school. And yesterday, as we record this, I drove to Philadelphia 6 hours and then I drove home 8 hours. So I did 14 hours in the car yesterday, and I wanted something to keep me alert and entertained. So I downloaded an audiobook called The Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Now, Rebecca Yarros, as I understand it, I was not familiar with her writing. She is a former romance novelist, and you can kind of see that a little bit, I guess, in the book here and there. But this is a fantasy book. This is a book about a war college where young adults are being taught to be riders to go to war. And so it has maybe a lot in common with a lot of, everybody's read a lot of these books that have traditional dragons and knights and shining armor and various creatures in them. And this one is dominated by dragons and griffins. But this first book is about a young woman named Violet Sorengale who is 20 years old. And when you get to that age in this world, you're supposed to become either a healer, which is like a doctor, or a scribe, which is like an academic of some sort, or a rider, which is one of these dragon riders who are like the elite corps of the military, or an infantry person and serve on the front lines because they live in a kingdom that's under attack constantly by this other group of people who ride griffins and attack the dragons and the people inside this community. And there's not a lot going on in this book yet, that as far as I've gotten in the first. I didn't listen to it the entire way, but I listened to about 8 hours of it yesterday. There's not a lot of the battle or information about this other community that's attacking them, but it centers around Violet going into the military. She's kind of scrawny. She's not. She has a brother who had been killed in battle, who was a dragon rider. She has a sister who's very accomplished dragon rider, who's very athletic and very talented, and a mother who is the lead general for this area of this world. And her father had died like a while ago. So she is thrown by her mother, who's a very hard and demanding and cold person, into the dragon riding school when all she wants to do is be an academic and read books and be a scribe. Because that's what their family does. They ride the dragons. And the thing about training to ride a dragon is that most of the people who train die. There's only a very small handful of them actually make it through this whole process to the point where they kind of get paired up with a dragon and become this elite fighting squad for this world. And so this story follows her as she enters this school and tries to find a way to survive, despite the fact that physically she's very small, she's short, she's not muscular, she doesn't have a lot of the physical traits that a lot of these soldiers who ride the dragons normally would have, and whether she will actually survive this year or many month process of becoming a dragon rider. And it's, she's got her wits. She's very smart. She's very fast and quick and agile. But I don't want to give away too much. But it's a fun book. I mean, I ended up downloading this one because I went through a bunch of lists of books that were supposed to be really good books from 2023, and particularly audiobooks. And this one's narrated very, very well. I really have enjoyed the person who's narrating it. And I wanted something that was going to capture my attention and keep me alert while I was driving on this long trip. And most of the suggestions that I got from these articles I read were like serial killer books. I'm driving around late at night. I don't want to scare myself with serial killer books. I wanted something a little more light than that. So I got a fantasy book. So Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. It's very, very good. And the audiobook is fantastic. I'm going to try to finish this. I think it's 20 hours total. And so I'm approaching halfway. And I'd like to finish it because I think I'll probably listen to the second one.
Very nice.
All right, Federico, that's it for this episode of Mac Stories Unwind. You can find us over at macstories.net. We're on Mastodon. Just go to vitici.macstories.net or johnvorhees.macstories.net to find us there. We're also on Instagram, where Federico is at Vitici. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees, JOHNVOORHEES. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.